We have come to the end of our signing ceremony. We would now request your permission to proceed with a very brief press conference in which we will take 3 questions from Ethiopian and Rwandan media. Before we do begin, Your Excellency, I would like to ask if you would like to deliver any remarks to media, sir, or if you would like us to proceed immediately with questions from the media.
Let's proceed.
Thank you, sir. We will take the first question from Ethiopian media. Gatachew, I believe you have a question. Please go ahead.
My question to President Paul Kagame is, what are the key areas where the 2 countries need to focus in their bilateral cooperation? And my question to Prime Minister Hailemariam Desalegn, you have been visiting Rwanda for 2 days. Now, what is your impression of this country, and what can Ethiopia learn from Rwanda? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I would like to thank President Paul Kagame and the entire people of Rwanda for the reception, very warm reception we have received since our arrival. We know Rwandese can do that, but it's exceptional. Thank you for that. First of all, I think there is a lot to be learned from Rwanda. You know, Rwanda is one of the fast-growing economies in Africa. Not only fast growth, but a shared growth to the people of Rwanda. I think this is the result of a sound policy and the strategies that the government has designed. And first of the most important thing is to learn from the policy, prescription, what make Rwanda to be successful. And we have been learning this process, not now, but for the last several years. We have been coordinating, discussing on pertinent policy issues. You know that Ethiopia and Rwanda follows a developmental democratic path, and that has yielded a result in both countries. But the specificity of the situation in Rwanda and Ethiopia calls for specific, intervention. But anyway, at the nutshell, the rural transformation and agricultural transformation that's taking place in Rwanda is remarkable. Rwanda is a highly populated, densely populated country, and they were able to feed their own country with very less land holding because of the productivity increment, the best practices and technology usage. And I think this is the best lesson we can learn. We in Ethiopia, we are also trying to do the same thing in our own specific situation, but I think the visit I have made today and yesterday is showing me that there is a lot to be learned. Deep inside, we have to understand the situation. If I give you one example, we have to invest in our land development. Rwanda has invested very much in land development. We have been trying to have a voluntary farmers' engagement in natural resource management and soil and water conservation work. That has given results, but the quality of the work needs more investment when I see what Rwanda has done today. So coming back home, I will send my experts to see the details of the investment they have made to make it more aggressive and more quality-oriented. So this is one of the lessons outright that I can tell you, but there is a lot to be learned if we go deep inside. The second thing is we have seen rural transformation in terms of rural housing and villagization program, where the lives of ordinary farmers has changed a lot. They are living in a neat room, neat houses, modern houses with all the services given. I think that model we have started in Ethiopia, but we can fast track by learning from the mistakes that Rwanda has made. We shouldn't repeat that mistake again in Ethiopia. So I think as a latecomer advantage, we can use that advantage as well. But you know that Rwanda is the best in Africa in doing business. And I think we have a project on improving our doing business ranking in globally. Ethiopia is a little back in this regard. So our investment commission is working very hard. They are working with the Rwandan counterparts. Since this is an African success story, then it is easier for Africans to emulate it. So we believe that Ethiopia can also improve doing business environment, and so a lot can be learned. You know, Rwanda is IT-friendly country and gender sensitive as well. So these are the two pillars that we can learn from Rwanda. I think we are learning from it, but we have to expedite by taking more lessons out of it. Obviously, there are areas where Rwanda also can learn from Ethiopia. So when I am talking about we can learn from Rwanda, there are also some best practices Rwanda can learn from us. So I think the first most important thing is to coordinate our policy recommendations and prescriptions that helps the results to come, and those best practices. We agreed with the president that this shouldn't be a light within Rwanda and Ethiopia, but it should also encompass the entire continent, because most of the countries are at the same stage of development, and we can share these experiences to the entire African continent in our setting. We don't need to go to somewhere else to learn lessons. That doesn't mean that we claim to be the best. We are always humble to learn and always learning. So I think what made Rwanda to be successful is they are not, naive. They are not adamant. They are always keen to learn, because there is a lot of things to be learned. I think this is how things are changing from time to time. And this is also a lesson that we can take from Rwanda.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think you have really covered a lot of ground in answering the questions. But I will add that to have priorities in our situation, Rwanda's or Ethiopia's, is a bit difficult because everything is a priority. This is what we have learned in our history, tragic history. You know, from learning things, we are told you must prioritize, you must focus. That's all well said and done. At times becomes more difficult. But there are broad lines where we need to focus our cooperation. As the Prime Minister has just said, learning is one thing, is a priority. And learning, when people have a vision of where they want to go, that is a priority. Then to have a strategy of how you want to be where you want to go is another priority. Number three, having had a vision and learning and having a strategy, you must do. There is doing things to get the results you want. And the aspirations for Rwanda and for Ethiopia and for other African countries are very similar. Can we grow our economies? Can we have shared growth? Can we have development? Can we have prosperity for our people? So then under those broad lines, you find almost everything has to be done and done at the same time. So whether this is an unfortunate situation we find ourselves in, so be it, because maybe that makes us want to do things to change the situations we find our people in. And that is what the people of Rwanda and the people of Ethiopia, I know, are very determined to achieve. And so the focus is there on these broad lines. Otherwise, you can't be talking about health and you leave out education. When you're talking about education, you're not leaving behind food security. When you're talking about food security, you're not leaving behind doing business. It goes on and on and on and on. So what we are mainly challenged by is to have these broad ambitions, to have these challenges, and have limited resources. So we have to be very innovative in making sure that we use our limited resources to achieve broad ambitions. And I think this is something we share with our brothers and sisters in Ethiopia. And I know we can achieve a lot even working together with other African brothers and sisters.
Thank you. We'll take our second question from CNBC. Arnold.
Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, thank you again very much for hosting us. My first question is to the two of you. These are two economies that have managed to grow in the past 10 years north of 6%, regardless of the turbulence. And one thing that's known about sub-Saharan Africa is risk. Now, to the two of you, you have managed to attract foreign direct investment regardless of what the West is saying. What could be your prescriptions to the rest of the leaders out there in sub-Saharan Africa who could learn maybe a thing or two about you and how you're doing this and how you manage to attract the foreign direct investment or even investment from across the borders, regardless of all the risk? The second question is, we've seen many MOUs being signed here today. And are we about to see a double taxation agreement being signed between Ethiopia and Rwanda in a bid to foster bilateral investment between the two countries? Thank you.
First of all, I think Prime Minister Desalegn put it very well, very correctly. Ours has never been an attitude of having lessons for anybody. But we are happy to have lessons from anybody. So we do things not because we want people to learn from us, but because it's an obligation. We want to do things. So, and we just always want to try our best and do the best for ourselves and get the results we want to get. So in doing what we are doing, in having our economies grow, in even in very challenging times, as you rightly said, we still manage to get these investments flowing to our countries as part of the growth and development overall situation is to be seen. In fact, the factor of risk, as you referred to, I don't know whether people tend to think that risks are only in Africa or sub-Saharan Africa. That's not true. You talked of how have you managed to bring, United States or Europe or others to come and invest here. Those people have more risks than we actually have. So I think for them, they know it. They know that the risks they are to find in our countries or in Africa are the same risks or even more they face with their traditional partners or developed countries. As you know, the facts are very clear. So the risks should not be exaggerated. They are there. they must be taken care of. Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. But they are everywhere. And in fact, in Africa, there are, even if you may say there are risks, there are, but there are even more returns or benefits for those people who are willing to take those risks. Some of these people have found that they take risks in places where they think there are less risks, but they have found that there are actually equally high risks and the returns are very low. So I don't think we could dwell so much on this, but I think the proof of the pudding is in the eating. When people have taken those risks and come to Africa, they find, after all, the worries were not warranted. And second, the proof they get is that there is a lot to benefit from investing in Africa or in Ethiopia or in Rwanda. And so overall, the growth in Ethiopia, which is very outstanding, I think the Prime Minister was very modest about it. I can say it for him, that actually Ethiopia probably has been the leading economy in terms of growth in recent times as we know it. When countries register double-digit growth, year in, year out, it's not by accident. And it's not because they are doing the wrong things. You can't do the wrong things every year and you get good growth. So it means they are doing something right, and that's why it happens. So, but we are also countries, Ethiopia and Rwanda, and increasingly other countries. Africa is beginning to understand what is it that it takes for economies to grow, whether it is in terms of governance, whether it is in terms of broad aspects of managing situations. And of course, you need peace as well to be able to do what you need to do. And we are working together to achieve all that is required for our economies to keep growing, and in the interest of our people. When we put people first and at the center of everything we are doing, I think it's a correct strategy, and it will deliver in many instances. So really, that's why it's not by accident that those countries are growing the way they are. It's because these things have been taken good care of. And as we cooperate with our developed or advanced economies, partners thereof, I think they are finding that we can learn from each other. Learning is not just one way. I think the reality turns out to bring out things people tend to ignore. So maybe Prime Minister, I leave you the other part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I fully concur with the President on the issues he mentioned. First of all, I think it is the belief that FDI comes not for charity. They come for making profit. And you should have an environment which makes them to be profitable. And that's why they are coming. They know that they can make profit from Rwanda and from Ethiopia. That's the only reason. We are not different in color. We are not different in religion, whatever. It's simply they come because they know that in the long term they can make profit out of the investment they are making, both in Ethiopia and Rwanda. So do we have those climate? I think there is. There is peace and stability both in Rwanda and Ethiopia, and investors want to see peace and stability prevail. There is good governance, zero tolerance for corruption. I think this is one thing which I just want to capitalize, because in most African countries they don't get this. They come because the government is firm and there is zero tolerance for corruption. And the third is they are friendly people. They easily get together. And of course, the productivity of the people is also matters. And there is a skill. Even though we have a long way to go for making our people to be skilled, the things we have made so far made our people to be skilled somehow. And they know that there is a good raw material for more trainings, and so that they can benefit from the human capital these countries has developed. And beyond that, I think we are also countries which has passed through a number of challenges earlier and become resilient. So I think that also gives them, if any challenge comes, these countries can be resilient. So I think that also gives a signal for the investors to come and invest. And above all, leadership. I think that we cannot hide. So these are the main issues. When they come, they calculate, they see, they try to avert risks, even though there is always risk in investment, as the president said, everywhere. Maybe the risk, as he said, in the Western country is much more bigger than the risk we have in, I concur with the president, in Africa. So I think these are the main issues. As far as investment between our two countries is concerned, I hope we can make it, because I was reading some of the articles that both Ethiopia and Rwanda are few of the countries who are making their millionaires. So they can invest in both countries, even though we have started from a low grade, low stage of our private sector because of our own histories. But now our private sectors are now growing in size and as well as in their capacity. So there will be an exchange of investment. For sure, Ethiopian Airlines and Rwanda Air both have a very good agreement, and they can exchange investment between the two. I think this is one area where we can start, and I think there is a vision that they both can come to invest in each other's. And our Chamber of Commerce people are getting together, as the Commission has evaluated. It's not as we expected to be, so we have to nurture that Chamber of Commerce interactions. So both Rwandese investing in Ethiopia and Ethiopians investing in Rwanda. So it's infant stage, but we have to make it matured. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, thank you very much. I think we would, with your permission, like to conclude here, as I believe you've been very generous with your time. On behalf of members of the media, we'd like to thank you very much. Thank you, sirs.
Thank you.